The views expressed, opinions given, and any communication made between the hosts and guests of What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Para-X Radio, EMC Network, or all services that play this show. The hosts and services are not responsible for the actions of their guests, and the original rights of all intellectual property is retained by the creator, and all work is used with either permission or Creative Commons license. The show is for entertainment purposes only. I'm horror author T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm horror author and filmmaker Phil Thomas.
And tonight we're asking you...
What are you afraid of? Philadelphia's horror home with hosts T. Fox Dunham and Phil Thomas.
So you've had an eventful day.
Yeah, I sure have.
Yeah. You were a little late. What happened?
I stopped at Wawa around the corner and backing out. I noticed someone else behind me backing out.
Okay.
And I stopped and they kept going and they sped up and I was like, oh God. And I put as I saw them speeding up, I put my gear shift into drive.
Uh-huh.
But right as it wasn't quick enough, didn't catch quick enough, and bang, she just hit me. Bumper to bumper.
Amazing.
I got out and everything, and she asked me if I was okay. I asked her. We looked. I didn't really see any damage on her car or mine. So, it didn't really, we talked for like a minute or something just to make sure everything was okay. Yeah. And then, we just went on our way, you know.
And that's your car out front that the bumper just fell off of?
What's that?
No, I'm kidding. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Wait, I was like, wait a second. Okay.
You're a little shooken up.
I registered.
Deep breath.
The car out front. Okay. That probably didn't hear right away. So.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't remember my bumper falling off. But no, that's the one.
With the Adventures of Phil.
Yeah.
On episode 117.
Yeah. Real life Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, it was. GTA. Yeah, I've never played it. But this is episode 117. Now, we're calling this The Ghost of Emily because I researched a wonderful ghost story down the shore. I'm really loving the ghosts along the Atlantic Ocean.
Right.
For the spring and summer. And hopefully we'll get down there and do a show.
Yeah.
This summer. It didn't work out last year. We'll see if we can do it this year.
Absolutely.
But a lot of the buildings down there were built in the 1920s, 1930s, as the shore was being built up.
Right.
And many of them have developed ghost stories.
That's right.
As is common. Like
Absolutely.
The Hotel Morecambe, the Lafayette, we were talking about that. And I found a wonderful ghost story about a ghost named Emily who lives in her afterlife at the Flanders Hotel in Ocean City.
All right.
Love Ocean City.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait to get back down. Allison has started her CPA, so we're back in school mode.
Oh, yeah, back in school mode.
But one of the things we like to do is to take our homework, and I'll take, one of my writing deadlines, we'll take our laptops down to the Starbucks there in Ocean City and work all morning. And we're more motivated because we know in a few minutes we're going out to the boardwalk.
Right. Yeah,
I do some of my best writing down the shore. Yes.
That's great. You get the atmosphere.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
With that ghostly, wonderful, sunny atmosphere.
Yeah.
Down in the ocean. It's a lot of ghost ships down there.
Ghostly, sunny atmosphere.
Yep, This is episode 117, The Ghost of Emily, on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show. We're on Para-X Radio at Friday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You can find us on all major podcast services. Check out our website at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com. Good news, the website is fixed. I got it fixed, and I updated it.
Yeah, it's
6 episodes.
Working good. Yes, yes. 6 episodes.
Yeah, I was behind.
Behind a bit, yeah.
Thank you for Deborah Drake for offering your advice. I had a PHP problem. There was a problem with my jetpack. We were getting like 20,000 spam emails an hour.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Oh, what a mess.
But you can go over there to, find our archive of ghost stories, which I'm going to be updating.
There's a problem with my jetpack, too.
Oh, is there? Oh,
yeah.
I'll show
I'm
you
out
what
of
I did.
plutonium.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you know any Libyans that I can contact?
The Libyans! How did they find me? Good old Doc Brown.
Hey, okay. I didn't plan this, but
okay.
yeah.
Oh, you're in your Back to the Future shirt?
Yeah.
That is awesome. I need one of those. But this is What Are You Afraid Of? And we've got a wonderful show tonight. We've got Ghost of the Flanders Hotel, some mob stuff in there, a ghost of a lovely lady called Emily who's been there since the 20s, and then we have part 2 of The Seventh Man, read by David Walton. This is a novella from Q, from like the Victorian era, about isolation of 7 men in the Arctic Circle, and David Walton does such a beautiful job of reading that. So, as we always do, we're going to jump to our ghost story first. We've got a ghost story on every episode. Mm-hmm. And this is The Ghost of the Flanders Hotel on What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show.
Era X Radio.
What are you afraid of?
Hi, I'm Tim Wagner, Bram Stoker award-winning author.
Hashtag Grave Girls.
This is Katrina Weidman of Destination America's Paranormal Lockdown.
This is Jim Chambers. I'm the author of The Engines of Sacrifice.
This is Jasper Barr, award-winning author of The Final Cut.
And you're listening to What Are You Afraid Of?
What Are You Afraid Of?
To What Are You Afraid Of?
What are you afraid of?
Love it. Fantoxic, please. Fantoxic.
Sweet Amityville, Phil. These are trying times for the supernatural and paranormal. So many TV shows and podcasts. In time like these, we need more horror hosts like Shauna and Vicky on Geeks Paranormal on Parax Radio on Wednesday nights.
Gosh, Fox, you are so right. I love those geeks. Shauna and Vicky. Does geek stand for something?
You know it, my creepy companion. Geek stands for General Ectoplasm Exposition Knowledge Society.
Wow. Do they speak to inspirational ghosts and give information on hauntings around the world?
Do demons vomit pea soup? That's Vicky and Shauna. They are the go-to ladies of the paranormal. I'd trust them to investigate anything.
Oh, I know. Why, if we were abducted by UFOs and taken into space for probing, I want Shauna and Vicky to save us from some X-Files action.
Some extraordinary X-Files action. And if Bigfoot abducted us, stole us away to some remote Yeti cave, and forced us into making venison and pine needles ectoplasm pie with a dash of banshee wailing, I'd want Shauna and Vicky to give us the recipe for some good old ectoplasm pie.
Now, that would be some peppery paranormal pie.
Yum.
And if we were possessed by a horde of hell demons, guess who had one exorcising the spirits?
Shauna and Vicky, am I right?
Damn skippy, foxy lad.
Listen to those wonderful hosts of the paranormal on Parax Radio at 9 p.m. on Parax Radio, exploring the paranormal with the geeks.
We're Phil and Fox on What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Parax Radio on Friday nights at 9 p.m.
Your source for everything paranormal. Para-X.
Ghosts of the Flanders Hotel, Ocean City, New Jersey. Researched, written, and read by T. Fox Dunham. My wife and I love to drive east to the New Jersey coast, and we spent many wonderful days on the ocean enjoying both the town and the boardwalk of Ocean City, New Jersey. We know its shops, arcades, and restaurants well, and over time, I've heard whispers of the many ghosts who decided to remain at the beach after their death. One of those stories was of the Grand Laughing Lady of the Flanders Hotel. Located behind Playland's Castaway Cove, a beloved amusement park on the Ocean City Boardwalk in New Jersey, best known for its pirate ship that fires cannon on the busy summer nights, the Flanders Hotel is one of the town's oldest and most elegant landmarks, rich in both normal and paranormal history. Visitors to the Ocean City Boardwalk will quickly recognize the iconic building of layered floors complete with red tiles and white walls. This grand and luxurious hotel was designed by renowned local architect Vivian Smith. Smith was an Ocean City native who built a career in Philadelphia, then returned home to design some of the iconic buildings of Ocean City, the Music Pier, City Hall, the high school, and several of the Atlantic City hotels. Vivian Smith designed the hotel in the Spanish Mission Revival style, and it was built in 1923. The owners named the hotel after Flanders Field in Belgium, an infamous battlefield from the First World War. The field was made famous by the poem by poet John McCrae, and it is known for poppies growing over the gravestone rows of American soldiers who were killed in that awful and muddy war. Vivian Smith designed the hotel complete with a large basement below sea level. This maze of large rooms became known as the catacombs of the Flanders, and these rooms were even used for illegal activities, quickly gaining a haunted reputation. The hotel became quickly known as a location of luxury, keeping up an atmosphere of hospitality even during the lean times of the Great Depression, becoming a popular resort throughout the 20th century. The Flanders even survived a terrible fire that wiped out much of the boardwalk and dozens of blocks of the waterfront in 1927. The fire even made room for the gigantic saltwater swimming pools located in between the hotel and the boardwalk. James M. Dwyer purchased the Flanders in 1996, remodeled the rooms as condominium units, and restored the hotel to much of its original grandeur. The Flanders is the only full-service hotel in Ocean City with a full-service restaurant, shops, a salon, a fitness center, ballrooms, and it's a great place to be married on the beach. In 2009, the Flanders Hotel, by unanimous vote, was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. The opulent design and luxurious amenities provided by the hotel soon made it a popular spot for the wealthy and criminal elements during the age of bootlegging and prohibition. The coast of New Jersey was not developed in the 20s, so there were few places where business meetings could be held by the criminal elements in New York and Philadelphia. The Jersey coast was a popular shore where smugglers brought in Canadian and Irish whiskey, which was then sold illegally throughout the East Coast, building massive criminal empires. The Flanders became a popular meeting place for East Coast bootleggers and mafia, and its catacombs were useful for dealing with problems. Gangland legends tell the story of several mob victims murdered in the basement, where their screams could not be heard by the seaside revelers above. Others say enemies of the criminal syndicates were killed in the rooms above and hidden below in the catacombs. Bodies may even be buried on the site, though none have been discovered. Members of the staff do not care to go into the basement rooms, especially at night. Several staff and visitors say they've even heard screams or wild laughter in the dark passages and rooms when no one else was down there. Are those the screams of the victims of the mafia finally heard? Dark apparitions haunting the dark rooms have also been seen, terrifying staff members sent below on errands. Do the ghosts of the mob victims wander the catacombs, lost in the dark below sea level? Besides the ghosts of the mafia victims, another spirit has been seen over the years of the hotel's operation. The hotel staff eventually named this ghost Emily, and she has become an unofficial mascot of the Hotel Flanders, even having the restaurant named after her. Hundreds of staff members and guests have seen her over the years, and she is known for her many ways of alerting people to her presence. She loves attention. Where the victims of the mafia are known to frighten, Emily is considered to be a happy ghost who often gets up to mischief in the hotel. She is a cheerful spirit who plays with door locks, working doorknobs, and even unscrewing light bulbs from chandeliers. She sometimes smashes plates, perhaps in frustration. She opens and closes doors, and some guests have seen a train of white gown disappearing down halls and around corners, always just out of sight. Sometimes a young woman can be seen running down the passageway and vanishing into the walls, perhaps following the floor plan of the original hotel before it was renovated. Many guests reported Emily during the month of July in 1999, and she's been described as a woman in her 20s with long brown or red hair, depending on the light. Many have speculated on her origins. Ghost Tours of Ocean City reported that Emily was the girlfriend of a World War I soldier who never came home to her from Europe. Perhaps he died in Flanders. Some paranormal investigators have uncovered psychic evidence that she might be the ghost of a child named Marilyn. This girl drowned tragically in the Atlantic and still searches for her mother, whom they have speculated may be called Emily. Stories of the ghosts of children who drowned in the hotel and haunt nearby hotels are common at the Jersey Shore, including a ghost who haunts the Hotel Montgomery in Cape May. Emily loves elegance. Sometimes a woman is heard laughing or screaming in the catacombs, but these might be reports of different spirits, perhaps the ones killed by the mafia. She is known to frequent the hotel's famous Hall of Mirrors, wearing a white dress and twirling in the light, watching her reflection. She quickly vanishes when seen by unwanted witnesses. Others report feeling unseen hands reaching out to them and seeing objects move of their own accord, though this isn't really Emily's style. She has also been seen twice during the July sightings of 1999, standing by the grand piano, perhaps ready to break into song. Then she quickly vanishes, shy to sing. She's even been known to crash weddings. A photographer caught the image of a phantom lady bearing her description as she fades into mist. The artist Tony Troy decided to honor her presence and ghost story with a posthumous portrait based on the many descriptions provided by guests and staff. He depicts her standing by a piano in a long white dress. Reflecting her spirited and childlike nature, Emily is not wearing shoes. Psychics have felt her energy focused on this painting. Emily's undying spirit represents the happiness and energy of the New Jersey shore. She is best known for her laughter, which sometimes can be heard throughout the Flanders Hotel. Sometimes she's heard singing joyfully. She's a beautiful and joyful spirit to haunt an old landmark in Ocean City that was named for one of the great tragedies of the 20th century. This is T. Fox Dunham at What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show. What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show is an eclectic audio magazine created by the authors T. Fox Dunham and Bill Thomas that explores everything dark, strange, paranormal, and creative through ghost stories, fiction, conversation, music, humor, and interviews with authors, filmmakers, crafters, historians, and paranormal investigators. We also create a series of author events.
We are both published authors, interested in a variety of topics, exploring the darkness through produced segments of the subject of horror, the paranormal, the art of writing, and noir, anything dark. Topics better enjoyed at night.
We do the show to promote our published work, and we support other artists and authors with the show. We entertain to reach out to new readers.
Fox and I record the show in the city of Philadelphia, and we are often on location in haunted sites and artist events. Listen to over 120 episodes on Para X Radio on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also find the show on most major podcast services including iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and many more. Or you can check out our expanded content, ghost story archives, links, interviews, and articles on our website at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com.
Email your true paranormal experiences to whatareyouafraidof117@gmail.com to be produced into narrated segments by our voice actors, or contact us through the website at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com, where you can find guidelines about our ghost story submissions. We don't judge. Our mission is to tell a good story.
What are you afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show.
Because it's more fun to play in the dark. Listen to Para X Radio on Friday nights for your weekly Flights of Fear. 4 creepy paranormal programs to satiate your supernatural cravings every week starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Uncover answers to the world unknown with the Basement Files at 7.
Basement Files?
Leanne and Angela explore the history of haunted sites at Spirited History at 8.
Spirited History with Leanne and Angela.
Authors T. Fox Dunham and Phil Thomas, with an eclectic cast of guests, seek out the darkness with stories and banter on What Are You Afraid of at 9 p.m.
What are you afraid of?
Finish out the night with James Riggs and Eric Williams discussing everything weird and wild on Strange Things Radio.
Strange Things Radio.
All on the Para X Radio Network on Friday nights starting at 7 p.m.
Your Friday Flights of Fear.
Your source for everything paranormal. Para X.
In the future, roving bands of comic book podcasts will savage the wasteland, once known as the Internet. One podcast, the Grawlix Podcast, may not be the biggest, may not be the funniest, may not be the most well-spoken. Wait, what was my point again? Oh yes, the Grawlix Podcast. Listen to it at grawlixpodcast.com. That's GRAWLIX podcast.com.
I love shore ghost stories.
Oh, aren't they great?
Yeah, I do.
They're the best.
And there are so many down there, especially...
There really is.
Yeah, it's such a great environment. The ocean's right there. You have a lot of ghost ships.
There's a lot of Cape May ghost stories.
Oh,
I think that's the oldest seaside resort.
It is.
In Jersey, at least. It's one of the oldest around. I mean, it's just those houses alone. You just walk down or drive down the main drag.
With the Victorian architecture,
houses,
the buttresses, and
everywhere.
Yeah,
they're everywhere. And one time I went on a ghost tour there.
Okay.
And bought a couple books, and that was really interesting. You should definitely. I know you like Cape May a lot.
I do.
You should definitely go on some ghost tours. You and Allison.
Yeah, we should.
And,
we should. Yeah.
And one. This is a different time, but one time there's a bunch of us. We just took a car ride. I had my camera, one of my nice ones, and I took a picture. I just took pictures and video like crazy. I got so much footage of all of these old. I mean, we spent the whole day just taking pictures of these old architectures, these Victorian structures, and I mean, I'll have to send them to you sometime.
That'd be lovely.
I mean, I'm talking like 5 hours worth of like nonstop picture taking.
You should put it on the website.
Yeah, I should.
To see
There was a lot. And we spent like a whole day doing it practically.
Such a beautiful town.
Yeah.
And you were hoping to get back down.
Oh, yeah.
To Cape May. And of course, we do want to take the ghost tour. There's a Cape May ghost tour. There's an Ocean City ghost tour. I mean, every town has a ghost tour down there.
I didn't know there was an Ocean City.
Yeah, there is. That's where I got some of the material. You know, because what I'll do is, if we use a story that I researched, I'll research 7 to 10 sources, and then I don't plagiarize. I write my own and then I'll do a little research myself. I just love going to Cape May.
Right.
Of course, it has a ghost tour down there in Cape May, and there's one in Ocean City, and one in several of the towns up there. And of course, these older towns, everyone's got a ghost society and an historical society, and so hopefully we'll be bringing you some more ghost stories from the shore over the next couple of months, because that's where I'm kind of targeted.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Now, speaking of crazy stuff, guess what? We've got more. Are you ready for this? Twice. Once last episode. Once this episode. We've got it for you. Clown news.
Oh.
Can you believe it?
It's still happening.
It's still happening. It's there. Clown news is back, and
just when you thought you heard the jingle for the last time.
I know, that wonderful jingle. Bill loves the jingle. He'll be like, he'll imitate it. He'll go, clown news. And of course, it's just me with the pitch changed.
Right.
You know, because we're pretty cheap here.
I mean, no, it's not you. It's a real clown.
The evil clowns.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is clown news. Cue the jingle.
Clown news.
There you go.
Hey.
Great jingle.
Great jingle. Man.
Yeah. But
and that's definitely not you at all.
No, that's not me at all.
No.
That's the clown.
Yep.
So, taking you over to Fort Wayne, Indiana. And this is insane. This is the second time a clown in the last few months has robbed a place. I guess they're running out of money. You know, the clown news is done, and
the clowns are they're uprising. And
they're up.
Yes, the clowns are uprising.
Clown crime spree on What Are You Afraid Of, episode 117. So the police are looking for a man. He wore a clown mask, and he fired several shots at a Fort Wayne credit union. Yeah, it was an attempted robbery at a place called Partners First Credit Union on Riviera Drive. Hey, Partners First Credit Union, glad you survived. It was last Thursday at 11:38 in the morning. You know, it's a weird time for clowns, I guess.
It is, yeah.
The Fort Wayne Police Department said the employees saw a man wearing a clown mask coming up to the bank. So what do you think? Well, you're working at a bank, and you see this guy walking up to your window in a clown mask. What's your first reaction?
First reaction would be there's going to be trouble.
Trouble.
Yeah, nobody approaches a bank in a clown mask and just asks for and hands out candy or asks for candy. You know,
Yeah.
It doesn't happen like that.
Here's some candy. Give me your money.
Yeah.
Water bottles were squirting. Floppy shoes were squeaking. It was mass hysteria. So he approaches the bank, and they saw him coming, and they reacted like you did.
Yeah.
And they locked the internal doors.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, they saw him coming, and they said, I don't care if he's a customer or not, we're not letting a guy in a clown mask.
Right.
Which you're not allowed to do anyway.
No, you're not. You're not supposed to do it.
You go into a bank, you have to take off your sunglasses, you have to
Yes.
take off your hat, you can't wear anything like that.
Right.
But they stopped him from getting inside, and he got so frustrated, he fired 7 shots at the door.
Jeez.
Like something from a cowboy movie.
Wow.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Yippee-ki-yay. He's an outlaw clown.
He's an outlaw clown. The outlaw clowns are coming.
Dirty Harry style.
It was only a matter of time.
Later.
Yeah. But so the customers that were in the bank, they actually locked the doors when they saw him coming, and there were customers in the bank. They hear the gunshots, and they all drop to the floor.
Geez.
You know?
Yeah.
So he fired, and of course it's bulletproof glass.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't break the glass on these things.
Right.
So he fired several shots. I guess he was a sad clown. Yeah.
he didn't get the role for the Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
No, he did not.
Sequel.
Yes.
So
Killer Clowns rob banks.
He didn't get the role for the sequel, so he's disgruntled and, He
didn't get the role, so he wanted a quarter role.
Right. Yeah. That's all he wanted.
Poor guy. This is in Indiana, by the way. My wife was born in Indiana, can you tell?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I know. Scott and I married a girl from Indiana.
Nice.
But so investigators hope that people in the area might have seen something. Maybe he drove up in a clown car.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And they're being asked to call Crime Stoppers.
Oh, my God.
But yet again...
They're asking to call what?
Crime Stoppers.
Oh, I thought you said Clown Stoppers.
Clown Stoppers.
Is this a new service? Like Clown Stoppers that specializes in stopping clowns.
We're not against all clowns, just the evil ones that rob banks.
Yeah, I don't like those either.
No. Oh, come on, guys. It's about fun and making children... Actually, it's about scaring the hell out of children.
I also don't like the ones that stand on street corners and just stare.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait. It's very unsettling.
Phil, are you seeing clowns standing on street corners and staring at you?
Yeah, a few days ago, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Where was this at?
Across the street from me.
Okay.
I was on the porch and he was standing there.
Okay.
Looking around. Just staring.
Okay.
In my direction.
I didn't pay anyone to do that.
You didn't pay anyone to do that? I thought it was you. I thought I was like, it's...
Trying to get some clown news generated.
Fox put him up to it.
I'm so desperate for clown news that we're going to go create some. Well, that's our clown news. On episode 117. So glad everyone's hanging out with us today. This is episode 117, The Ghost of Emily, on What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show.
Yeah, I hope everyone's having a good Friday night if you're listening to it on Para X.
On Para X Radio, at 9 p.m. Some wonderful shows, like The Basement Files, are on tonight. Haunted History is on Friday nights.
Right.
Great show. Haunted History. And we are at the 9 o'clock time slot.
We sure are.
Where we've been for a couple years now.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. But it's been fun. Good ghost stories, good fiction, good music. We're kind of getting back into the energy of things. The summer's getting on. And you said it's halfway to Halloween.
Yeah, I think, yes. I mean, there's some disputes over it, whether it's May 1st or April 30th.
Right.
It's either today or yesterday.
Okay.
So, but we're on that, one of the 2 days. We're there.
Right, we're there.
So, yeah, it's basically halfway to Halloween.
It's halfway to... I can't believe we've already gotten halfway to Halloween.
I know. Can you believe that?
We survived the winter and we've had a very temperate April.
Yeah, it's been a nice April.
My herbs are growing.
Nice.
They're sprouting up. Nice. They're getting it. And it's Beltane today.
Oh.
One of the 4 Celtic pagan fire festivals, one of the main holidays.
Oh. Very nice.
Well, we talked about Ostara on the last episode.
Right.
And Beltane kind of goes in with that on May 1st.
Right.
And it's one of the 4 fire festivals. You have Impalk, which is birth, Beltane, which is adolescence, Luinosa, which is maturity, birth, and Samhain, which is death. And then it begins again on Impalk with conception and birth.
Right.
And it's a cool day. We're celebrating the holiday of spring, that life has come back, and the sun is back, and that the plants are growing, and the seeds have been planted. And, kind of midsummer day.
Right.
The time of, maypole dancing. Of course, very much in England.
Right.
And now you can bake with honey to celebrate it. You can put a yellow candle on your altar, and it's the time for cleansing. Now, to cleanse well, you can sprinkle sea salt.
Okay.
And vacuum that up. You can smudge with sage, and then sometimes use like an ostrich feather or feather to spread the smoke, making sure the windows are open to spread all that negativity out.
Have you done that yet? Have you done the smudging stick yet?
Not yet. Not yet this year. It's sitting on my altar, ready to go. I need to get in and wash some of the sheets and kind of scrub things down, and I want to go through all our old clothes and start going through our packed stuff.
Right.
Because we don't want to move and take stuff with us that we're just going to throw out after we move.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So hopefully we'll get that. I'm going to start doing that now instead of getting, jumped on with all this stuff before we get out of here. And have to do that as well. So we're going to start going through that, and Allison's back with her CPA. But it's happy Beltane.
Yeah. Happy Beltane.
Yeah, happy Beltane. And it's also time for balefires. Get a good bonfire going. Go to a buddy's and set up a fire, do some wild dancing, maybe make a fairy offering. You can make a fairy offering with little cakes, or spill some wine on the ground, or present flowers, or a little money, or even write a poem. Find a secluded glade somewhere where the sun is shining just on that spot. Say at the base of an oak tree, or an ash tree, or a birch tree.
Nice.
You know, and just kind of...
Yeah, I guess got a mental image of a beam of sun just hitting a certain one spot.
That's it. That's exactly the spot you look for. Right. And hopefully we'll get somewhere this weekend and make an offering somewhere and get out there and get some exercise. And, you know, I've been telling you that I've been doing some exercising.
Yeah, you have. I think I'm going to Jersey this weekend.
Are you? Where are you headed?
Yeah, I think I'm going to, it's the world's largest miniature train museum.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Sure, where's that at? That's,
I'm trying to remember the actual name of it. It's in Hamilton, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
I believe.
Well, that sounds
Don't
like
quote
fun.
me on that. I have to look it up.
Won't quote you on that.
Yeah,
I'm going to quote Bill. It's in Hamilton.
It is in Jersey, though.
There are all sorts of different kinds of fairies and fae. And they go to a mythology that's similar to angels in the Christian faith. But in the beginning, all these things sort of have central roots. And, of course, one of those fae are the banshee, which we talk about. And that's Bansidh. She, S-I-D-H, in Gaelic, S-H-E-E, as in banshee, or mournful ghost or spirit or mournful fairy.
Okay.
You know, things like that.
Right.
But it's a beautiful time, and we'll be growing herbs, and this is What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Shows. This is episode 117 of The Ghost of Emily. I'm T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm Phil Thomas.
Now, we've got a wonderful story coming up that David Walton has been narrating, and he did part 1 on episode 116, and he does part 2 for us tonight. It's a wonderful story by Q, you know, who's actually a British author, and this is part 2 of The Seventh Man, and it's set in the Arctic Circle. And it was written by Q, his real name Sir Arthur Thomas Quiller-Couch. He was a Cornish author who published using the pseudonym Q. He was a prolific writer, and he's remembered mainly because of the publication of what he wrote, the Oxford Book of the English Verse. And I think I told you about this, but he's the guy who came up with the term, kill your darlings.
Yeah, kill your darlings, right?
Indeed.
I hate doing that, but...
Yeah, I know.
I'm in the process of doing it, actually.
Are you? You're editing your book?
Yeah, I'm editing too.
How's that coming? Are you editing both?
Yeah, well, I'm almost on one, then I'm going to start on the other. So I've already edited, the Worst Afterlife Ever book is already edited once.
Okay, yeah.
I got to edit it again, but then I'm doing a fresh edit on the Poe Predicament.
Yeah, right.
And I'm about halfway, no, more than that, I'm like 3/4 through.
Because you have the time.
Because I have the time.
Do it if you have the time.
I want to make sure it's, I'm pretty close to having a publisher lined up for it.
Good.
So I want to make sure it's the best it can be. So as soon
great.
as I'm done with the edit, I'm going to start on Worst Afterlife Ever, and then I'm going to do another sweep of it, another edit, and then I'm going to send it off to another editor.
So good. This is excellent. This is something that I'm always advising authors out there, and that's something we do on the show, is we provide wisdom to new authors getting started, and that's it. If you have the time, put it to another edit. If it gets rejected, bring it back, read it again, do another edit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the first time, after actually there's been a couple edits since then, but initially when I finished it, I did a couple edits and I started sending it out. And there was a publisher before the book did get accepted, and then the publisher went out of business, so I got the rights back.
Yeah.
So, but before I signed a contract with them, I had sent it out to other places, and they actually gave me notes on stuff they didn't like.
Right.
And I actually took those notes and corrected everything that was. I just took your suggestions.
Standard transaction.
And I fixed everything that they didn't care for or that they thought was a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or you can sort of argue with them too about it.
You can, yeah, but some of it I disagreed with. There was a couple of things I was like, no, you just don't get that at all.
Right, and sometimes I just go, screw it, just take it. I just did that.
There was some black and white stuff, like, okay, I did that wrong.
Grammar issues.
But one of them was just their opinion.
Yeah.
And I didn't agree with it at all.
Good.
But
Stick it to the man.
Right.
Yeah, I just did that with my pizza story.
Right.
My horror pizza story that we did for Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing. And I think like 800 people submitted, 13 got accepted. I was one of them. I was amazed because I did it about a zombies thing, and zombies are just not popular anymore.
Right.
But I had to do
You still have The Walking Dead.
You do.
You know.
But I had to do the edit this weekend. A lot of it was mostly grammar correction and stuff like that, and I got it back to them. But,
okay. Are you watching Game of Thrones or
no?
Oh, you're not. Okay.
No. But this has been episode 117 at What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show on Para X Radio Friday nights 9 o'clock, and you can also find us on the web at all the major podcast distributors like Google Play, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and I mean we're everywhere.
Right.
Find us at our website at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com, where you can find all of our episodes, 117 at this point, plus our archive of ghost stories, links, and information about our guests, plus ghost stories and articles and interviews over there. Time for Violence, which is now out, the new anthology from Close to the Bone. I'm in it. Andrew Roche is in it. Mark Slade is in it. Some Elko Ray, who's coming on this show, is in it. And there'll be more information up that on the website for that.
Nice.
Well, it's been a fun episode.
Oh, this has been great.
This has been episode 117, and we leave you with the wonderful words of David Walton in The Seventh Man. I'm T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm Phil Thomas.
Mercy, a new horror medical thriller from author T. Fox Dunham, published by Bloodbound Books. Based on the author's horrific battle with a rare form of lymphoma that involved intense chemotherapy and radiation, Fox turns the horror of his experience into terror on the page.
William Sane is dying of cancer. On most days, death seems like a humane alternative to the treatment. Stricken with fever, William is rushed to Mercy, notorious as a place to send the sickest of the poor and uninsured to be forgotten, and finds the hospital in even worse condition than his previous visit.
Willie's memories faded. He grabbed his sack head of the scarecrow, picking at the exposed chicken wire to hold them in. However, the memories fell out of the holes in his face. They wormed and crawled from the leather flesh and the old clothing of the scarecrow, then squirmed and wiggled down his body.
The grounds are unkempt, the foundation is cracking, and like the wild mushrooms sprouting from the fissures of decay around it, something is growing inside the hospital. Something dark.
Fangoria gives Mercy 3.5 out of 4 skulls. Dunham has channeled his many brushes with the other side into the exquisitely rendered, lyrical, supernatural hospital thriller Mercy.
It's feeding on the sickness and sustaining itself on the staff, changing them, and now it wants Willie.
Come now, Mr. Saint. Just a little more of that sweet milk. So salty and so good. You won't miss it. And we ever do so like our delicacies here at Mercy Hospital.
Part medical horror, part supernatural suspense, Mercy is a hard-hitting fever dream of a novel. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Tim Wagner, author of The Way of All Flesh and Eat the Night. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores everywhere in both print and digital versions.
Life is an addiction.
Let go. Let it all burn. I'm Jenna Valadez with the Basement Files. Tune in Friday nights, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Para X Radio Network.
Hi, I'm David Walton, and I drop whatever I'm doing to read whatever Fox and Phil demand of me. My digital, as opposed to ectoplasmic alter ego, is called Brendan Shawland, who regularly plays guitar and sings in a virtual world. Brendan has a website, David doesn't. Bandcamp sales figures would suggest that Brendan's music is decidedly niche. If you want to be in the vanguard of support as Brendan heads towards global domination, just put Brendan Shawland in your favourite search engine, and you'll find his website very close to the top. You'll see what the human looks like, and you can check out the Listen to a Song page to access Brendan's unwillingly private world of creative output. The Seventh Man by A.T. Quiller-Couch, published in 1900. The second and final part. They heard his feet stealthily crunching the frozen stuff across the roof, He was working towards the eaves overlapping the door. Their breath tightened. They waited for the explosion of his gun. None came. The crunching began again. It was heard down by the very edge of the eaves. It mounted to the blunt ridge overhead. Then it ceased. "He will not have seen aught," David Fayed muttered. "Listen, you. Listen by the door again." They talked in whispers. Nothing. There was nothing to be heard. They crept back to the fire and stood there warming themselves, keeping their eyes on the latch. It didn't move. After a while, Cooney slipped off to his hammock, Fayed to his bunk, alongside Lashman's. The gaffer had picked up his book again. The snipe laid a couple of logs onto the blaze and remained beside it, cowering. His shapeless shadow wavered up and down on the bunks behind him, and across the fire he still stared at the latch. Suddenly the sick man's voice quavered out. "It's not him they want, it's Bill. They're after Bill out there. That was Bill trying to get in. Why didn't you open? It was Bill, I tell you." At the first word the snipe had wheeled right about face and stood now pointing and shaking like a man with ague. "Matey, for the love of God!" "I won't hush. There's something wrong here tonight. I can't sleep. It's Bill, I tell you. See his poor hammock up there shaking." Cooney tumbled out with an oath and a thud. "Hush it, you white-livered swine. Hush it, or by—" His hand went behind him to his knife sheath. "Dan Cooney." The gaffer closed his book and leaned out. "Go back to your bed." "I won't, sir. Not unless—" "Go back. Flesh and blood, go back." And for the third time that night, Cooney went back. The gaffer leaned a little farther over the ledge and addressed the sick man. "George, I went to Bill's grave not 6 hours agone. The snow on it wasn't even disturbed. Neither beast nor man, but only God can break up the hard earth he lies under. I tell you that, and you may lay to it. Now go to sleep." Long Ead crouched on the frozen ridge of the hut, with his feet in the sleeping bag, his knees drawn up, and the two guns laid across them. The creature, whatever its name, that had tried the door was nowhere to be seen, but he decided to wait a few minutes on the chance of a shot. That is, until the cold should drive him below. For the moment the clear tingling air was doing him good. The truth was, Long Ead had begun to be afraid of himself, and the way his mind had been running for the last 48 hours, upon green fields and visions of spring. As he put it to himself, something inside his head was melting. Biblical texts chattered within him like running brooks, and as they fleeted he could almost smell the blown meadow scent. "Take us the foxes, the little foxes, for our vines have tender grapes, a fountain of gardens, a well of living waters, and streams from Lebanon. Awake, O north wind, and come thou south. Blow upon my garden, that the spices thereof may flow out." He was light-headed, and he knew it. He must hold out. They were all going mad, were in fact 3 parts crazed already, all except the gaffer. And the gaffer relied on him as his right-hand man. One glimpse of the returning sun, one glimpse only, might save them yet. He gazed out over the frozen hills and northward across the ice pack. A few streaks of pale violet, the ghost of the aurora, fronted the moon. He could see for miles. Bear or fox, no living creature was in sight. But who could tell what might be hiding behind any one of 1,000 hummocks? He listened. He heard the slow grinding of the ice pack off the beach. Only that. Take us the foxes, the little foxes. This would never do. He must climb down and walk briskly, or return to the hut. Maybe there was a bear, after all, behind one of the hummocks, and a shot, or the chance of one, would scatter his head clear of these tomfooling notions. He would have a search around. What was that, moving, on a hummock, not 500 yards away? He leaned forward to gaze. Nothing now, but he had seen something. He lowered himself to the eaves by the north corner, and from the eaves to the drift piled there. The drift was frozen solid, but for a treacherous crust of fresh snow. His foot slipped upon this, and down he slid of a heap. Luckily, he had been careful to sling the guns tightly at his back. He picked himself up, and unstrapping one, took a step into the bright moonlight to examine the nipples, took 2 steps, and stood stock still. There, before him, on the frozen coat of snow, was a footprint. No, 2, 3, 4, many footprints. Prints of a naked human foot. Right foot, left foot, both naked, and blood in each print. A little smear. It had come then. He was mad for certain. He saw them. He put his fingers in them, touched the frozen blood. The snow before the door was trodden thick with them, some going, some returning. The latch lifted. Suddenly he recalled the figure he had seen moving upon the hummock, and with a groan he set his face northward and gave chase. Oh, he was mad for certain. He ran like a madman, floundering, slipping, plunging in his clumsy moccasins. Take us the foxes, the little foxes. My beloved put in his hand by the hole of the door, and my bowels were moved for him. I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you, I charge you. He ran thus for 300 yards maybe, and then stopped as suddenly as he had started. His mates, they must not see these footprints, or they would go mad too, mad as he. No. He must cover them up, all within sight of the hut, and tomorrow he would come alone, and cover those farther afield. Slowly he retraced his steps. The footprints, those which pointed towards the hut, and those which pointed away from it, lay close together, and he knelt before each, breaking fresh snow over the hollows, and carefully hiding the blood. And now a great happiness filled his heart, interrupted once or twice as he worked by a feeling that something was following and watching him. Once he turned northwards and gazed, making a telescope of his hands. He saw nothing, and fell again to his long task. Within the hut, the sick man cried softly to himself. Fayed, the snipe, and Cooney slept uneasily, and muttered in their dreams. The gaffer lay awake, thinking. After Bill, George Lashman, and after George, who next? And who would be the last, the unburied one? The men were weakening fast, their wits and courage coming down at the end with a rush. Fayed and Long Ead were the only 2 to be depended on for a day. The gaffer liked Long Ead, who was a religious man. Indeed, he had a growing suspicion that Long Ead, in spite of some amiable laxities of belief, was numbered among the elect, or might be, if interceded for. The gaffer began to intercede for him silently, but experience had taught him that such wrestlings, to be effective, must be noisy, and he dropped off to sleep with a sense of failure. The snipe stretched himself, yawned, and awoke. It was 7 in the morning, time to prepare a cup of tea. He tossed an armful of logs onto the fire, and the noise awoke the gaffer, who at once inquired for Long Ead. He had not returned. "Go you up to the roof. The lad must be frozen." The snipe climbed the ladder, pushed open the trap, and came back, reporting that Long Ead was nowhere to be seen. The old man slipped a jumper over his suits of clothing, already 3 deep, reached for a gun and moved to the door. "Take a cup of something warm to fortify," the snipe advised. "The kettle won't be 5 minutes boiling." But the gaffer pushed up the heavy bolts and dragged the door open. "What in the... Here, bear a hand, lads." Long Ead lay prone before the threshold, his outstretched hands almost touching it, his moccasins already covered out of sight by the powdery snow which ran and trickled incessantly, trickled between his long dishevelled locks and over the back of his gloves, and ran in a thin stream past the gaffer's feet. They carried him in and laid him on a heap of skins by the fire. They forced rum between his clenched teeth and beat his hands and feet and kneaded and rubbed him. A sigh fluttered on his lips, something between a sigh and a smile, half seen, half heard. His eyes opened, and his comrades saw that it was really a smile. "What cheer, mate?" It was the snipe who asked. I seen..." The voice broke off, but he was smiling still. What had he seen? Not the sun, surely. By the gaffer's reckoning, the sun would not be due for a week or 2 yet. How many weeks he could not say precisely, and sometimes he was glad enough that he did not know. They forced him to drink a couple of spoonfuls of rum and wrapped him up warmly. Each man contributed some of his own bedding. Then the gaffer called to morning prayers, and the 3 sound men dropped to their knees with him. Now, whether by reason of their joy at Long Ead's recovery, or because the old man was in splendid voice, they felt their hearts uplifted that morning with a cheerfulness they had not known for months. Long Ead lay and listened dreamily while the passion of the gaffer's thanksgiving shook the hut. His gaze wandered over their bowed forms. The gaffer, David fired, Dan Cooney, the snipe, and George Lashman in his bunk, of course, and me. But then, who was the 7th? He began to count. There's myself, Lashman, in his bunk. David fired, the gaffer, the snipe, Dan Cooney. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, but that made 7. Then who was the 7th? Was it George who had crawled out of bed and was kneeling there? Decidedly, there were 5 kneeling. No, there was George plain enough in his berth and not able to move. Then who was the stranger? Wrong again. There was no stranger. He knew all these men. They were his mates. Was it Bill? No, Bill was dead and buried. None of these was Bill, or like Bill. Try again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And us 2 sick men. 7. The gaffer, David fired, Dan Cooney. Have I counted Dan twice? No, that's Dan, yonder to the right, and only one of them. 5 men kneeling, and 2 on their backs. That makes 7 every time. Dear God, suppose... The gaffer ceased, and in the act of rising from his knees caught sight of Long Ead's face. While the others fetched their breakfast cans, he stepped over and bent and whispered, "Tell me, you've seen what?" "Seen?" Long Ead echoed. "Aye, seen what? Speak low." Was it the sun? But this time the echo died on his lips, and his face grew full of awe, uncomprehending. It frightened the gaffer. "You'll be the better of a snatch of sleep," said he, and was turning to go when Long Ead stirred a hand under the edge of his rugs. "7. Count," he whispered. "Lord have mercy upon us," the gaffer muttered to his beard as he moved away. Long Ead gone crazed. And yet, though an hour or two ago this had been the worst that could befall, the gaffer felt unusually cheerful. As for the others, they were like different men, all that day and through the 3 days that followed. Even Lashman ceased to complain, and unless their eyes played them a trick, had taken a turn for the better. "I declare if I don't feel like pitching to sing," the snipe announced on the second evening, as much to his own wonder as to theirs. "Then why in thunder don't you strike up?" answered Dan Cooney, and fetched his concertina. The snipe struck up, then and there. Villikins and his diner. What is more, the gaffer looked up from his Paradise Lost, and joined in the chorus. By the end of the second day, Long Ead was up and active again. He went about with a dazed look in his eyes. He was counting to himself, always counting. The gaffer watched him furtively. Since his recovery, though his lips moved frequently, Long Ead had scarcely uttered a word. But towards noon on the 4th day, he said an extraordinary thing. "There's that sleeping bag I took with me the other night. I wonder if 'tis on the roof still. It will be frozen pretty stiff by this. You might nip up and see Snipe, and—" He paused. "If you find it, stow it up yonder on Bill's hammock." The gaffer opened his mouth, but shut it again without speaking. The snipe went up the ladder. A minute passed, and then they heard a cry from the roof, a cry that fetched them all trembling, choking, weeping, cheering to the foot of the ladder. "Boys! Boys! The sun!" Months later, it was June, and even George Lashman had recovered his strength. The snipe came running with news of the whaling fleet, and on the beach, as they watched the vessels come to anchor, Long Ead told the gaffer his story. It was a what do you call it, I reckon. I was crazed, eh? The gaffer's eyes wandered from a brambling, hopping about the lichen-covered boulders, and away to the seafowl wheeling above the ships, and then came into his mind a tale he had read once in The Turkish Spy. "I wouldn't say just that," he answered slowly. "Anyway," said Long Ead, "I believe the Lord sent a miracle to us to save us all." "I wouldn't say just that either," the gaffer objected. "I doubt it was meant just for you and me, and the rest were preserved, as you might say, incidentally."
I thought you said clown stoppers.
T. Fox Dunham lives in Philadelphia with his wife Allison. He's a lymphoma survivor, cancer patient, modern bard, and historian. His first book, The Street Martyr, was published by Gutter Books. A major motion picture based on the book is being produced by Throughline Films. Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality or Searching for Andy Kaufman, a book about what it's like to be dying of cancer, was recently released from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and Fox has a story in the next Stargate anthology from MGM and Fandemonium Books, Points of Origin. Fox is an active member of the Horror Writers Association, and he's had published hundreds of short stories and articles. His motto is Wrecking Civilization, one story at a time.
Phil Thomas is an author and screenwriter from the suburbs of Philadelphia. His screenplays have been produced into feature films False Face and Always from Darkness, and are available in major retailers such as Best Buy and Target, as well as availability on Netflix and Amazon On Demand. His short films can be viewed on his YouTube channel, Film Zero Presents. He is a member of the International Association of Professional Writers and Editors, and he currently writes for Cultured Vultures, Game Skinny, and BloodyDisgusting.com.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.